Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This whole video is literally just me hyping up the Caraval trilogy. It is what it is. Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag for 2020. I actually did this tag last year in 2019. I did not really want to watch it because it's probably cringy, but I am doing it again this year as this tag is meant to be done every year towards the middle-ish of the year to kind of talk about some of your new favorites, some of the books you hated, and just kind of how your reading life has been going in the first 6 months of the year. So I will link the original creators down below in the description as well as all of the questions in case you want to do it for yourself. But for now, we're just gonna jump right into this tag and talk about how pretty good my year has been so far. One of the questions that is not in this tag, but I just kind of wanted to mention in the theme of this tag is how many books I have read. So right now I am filming this towards the middle end of June. This video is probably gonna come out in July, but this is just when I'm filming it. And currently right now I have read 26 books, which is pretty good considering my yearly goal is 50 books, and so I'm already over halfway done. So I'm really excited about that. And since I have read quite a number of books, 26, I do have some I am very excited to talk about, whether that's very good or very bad. But now let's just really jump into it with question number 1. The best book you have read so far in 2020. I'm gonna count this question as a book I have read for the first time, so not a reread. I've actually only given one book 5 out of 5 stars aside from the Hunger Games trilogy, which was a reread. I gave that all 5 stars. But the only other book I gave 5 stars to was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I love this book so much, and honestly it's probably going to be the book or the series I'm going to be talking about the most in this video, but it is just so good. I love it a lot. I kind of think it's underrated. Like, I think more people need to read this book because I was so surprised with how much I loved it. We basically follow these two sisters, Scarlett and Tella, and they live with their father. He's like the person that runs this whole island, and they've always been under like strict control of him. In this world as well, there is a competition or a festival type thing called Caraval, and it's full of magic and there's prizes to be won, and these two girls somehow find their way wrapped up in the world of Caraval. And it's this great story of these two sisters who have this bond. We follow Scarlett's perspective in this book, and then in the second book we follow Tella's perspective, and then in the last book we follow both of their perspectives. It's just so good. I loved the whole magical atmosphere. I loved all the characters, and especially how Caraval ends. I loved it. Definitely wins the title for best book in this year so far, and I would really recommend you read it. Question number 2, the best sequel you've read so far in 2020. Again, I could give this to the Hunger Games series because Catching Fire and Mockingjay were both 5 out of 5 stars for me, but I'm gonna be sticking to books that I have read for the first time. Now, I think I'm gonna have to give this just to a few because there's too many good books I've read, but I'm gonna have to go with The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. Legendary and Finale by Stephanie Garber. These are the second and third book in the Caraval trilogy, and like I said, that trilogy is just superior to all. It is so good. And I'm going with One True King as well, the last book in the School for Good and Evil series. I loved it a lot. I think it was a perfect book to end off this 6-book long series with, and honestly, I just had a really fun time reading all of these books. Sequels can often be like a real make or break because either the first original story is so good and then the story just kind of trails down, but for all of these, like, the series kept going. Like, it was really good. I really enjoyed my time reading it, and I just enjoyed my time reading these books. Number 3, a new release I have yet to read. For this, I'm going with Imagine Me by Tahira Mafi. Originally what I wanted to do was reread and make videos on the first 5 books in this series, but for some reason didn't end up doing that. And then this book came in the mail 3 weeks after the book had come out, so all of the hype building up to this book kind of was like fading away for me. However, I did start to read this book and I got about 50 pages in, but then I realized I was far too confused and did not really remember what happened all that much. So I put it down and I haven't picked it up since. I do really want to see how this series ends off though, because I remember loving it so much last year. We're gonna hopefully get to this book eventually. Question number 4, most anticipated read for the rest of the year. This one, hands down, has to go to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Victoria Schwab has been hyping this book up like all year long, and the release date I believe is October 6th if I'm not mistaken. This summer I'm actually making it a big priority to read all of V.E. Schwab's books that she has out. So I'm going to be rereading the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, the Vicious duology, and the Near Witch. Because I loved the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, I want to reread it, and I also want to get into the world of all her other popular novels as well and see if I like them as much. But I think I will love The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue just because I love the concept of it. There's been so much like positive reviews around this book by like really like well-known reviewers, if you want to say, and I'm just really looking forward to this book. I claim V. Schwab is like one of my favorite authors, even though I've only read one of her trilogies, but I do really want to prioritize reading more of her novels, especially her adult novels, because I haven't really enjoyed her YA or middle grade novels as much, but I have hope for this book. I really do. Number 5, biggest disappointment. There's multiple ones of these. Number 1 is Orcs and Crate by Margaret Atwood. I was hoping this one was gonna be good because it's by Margaret Atwood, a really famous author, and I was sadly mistaken. I gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. I did not like it. I don't know how people liked it. Would not recommend it under any circumstance. Number 2 is The Betrothed by Kira Cass. I had reread the original Selection trilogy a couple months ago leading up to this book just so I could get back into the world of Kira Cass. I loved that trilogy so much, and then I was so excited to read this and was very disappointed. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. You can click up here to watch my full review on this book, but I was just overall very disappointed in what I was reading. The Selection set the bar up here, and then this, it didn't even come close. There was just no character development or like plot stuff that I really liked, and it was just really bleh, to put it simply. And my last majorly disappointing read is going to be The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. In case you don't know, this is the prequel book to the original Hunger Games trilogy. In the original Hunger Games, we follow Katniss in the 74th Hunger Games, and in this book we follow President Snow, who's not the president, he's actually just an 18-year-old teenager, in the 10th Hunger Games, where he is a mentor to the female District 12 tribute. And I originally gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars, but I was like, I hate it too much, I'm giving it a 2 star. It just missed the mark on so many different levels. This book was over 500 pages, and 500 pages is definitely on the edge of a bigger YA fantasy novel, I would say, but it can be like really entertaining, you know, if done well. I just finished One True King, which is the last book in the School for Good and Evil series, and that was over 600 pages, and I loved my time reading that book. This book, I had to force myself to finish reading. Like, it was just bad. I didn't really like any part in this book all that much, except for maybe like a couple like world building type things, but definitely majorly disappointed in this book. I have a full video talking about it if you want to check it out. You can click the link up here. Question number 6 is biggest surprise, and honestly I'm just gonna tie it right back into the last question. I was really surprised with how much I disliked The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins and The Betrothed by Kira Cass. Those were some of my most anticipated releases of this year, and they were both big flops. Like, point blank. I love the Hunger Games series and I love the Selection series, so I thought more works by the same authors would be really fun and I would love them just as much, but I was wrong. I was wrong. Number 7, new favorite author. To be honest, I don't think I necessarily have a new favorite author, but just so I can give an answer to this question, I'm gonna go with Stephanie Garber because she is the author of the Caraval trilogy. I love that trilogy, like I've already said numerous times. So technically to answer this question, I guess I would pick her, but I've only read the one trilogy by her, so I don't really know if that counts as being a favorite author, but I'll put her in this category just for now. Number 8 is newest fictional crush. I don't think I like fall under this category as much as like other people do, but I'm just gonna go with my favorite male characters that I have come to love in reading. What a surprise! I'm going back to Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I'm going with Julian and Dante. I love them so much, and I guess technically also Legend. I loved them all so much. I loved the development we got throughout all 3 books. They were so good to read about. The romance in this book and the couples that ended up being formed, I loved it. They were amazing. Perfection. Perfection. Number 9, newest favorite character. And for this category, I have 2, I'm gonna say. Maybe 3, actually. I'm gonna go from The Wicked King with Jude and Cardan. I love them, especially together. I love them so much. Their characters are some of my favorite, and honestly, even though they're kind of like really bad people, I also love them with all of my heart. So I love them. And I also really love Tella from the Caraval trilogy, specifically her in Legendary and Finale, because that's when we really see the most of her character. I like Scarlet, but I would definitely say Tella is my favorite out of the 2 sisters. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. And technically, I have not cried over any of the books that I have read this year, But I came very close with The School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After. This is a reread of mine. I think it's been at least like 4 times I've read this book. Yet here I was, almost crying at the ending. Not because of the main ending, but there was a side character that may or may not have, you know, died. And I was like, no. So I almost did cry because of that. And even though I've reread this book multiple times over, did I still almost cry? Yes. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Number 11, I guess, a book that made you happy. For this, I am going with The One by Kira Cass. This is the 3rd book in the original Selection trilogy, and I loved this book. It was my favorite out of the first 3 books. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved the romance so much. They're so good together. Like, I don't know how else to say it. How can you not fall in love with this book? Like, listen to this. Break my heart. Break it 1,000 times if you'd like. It was only ever yours to break. Wow. Couple goals. We love that. I can't really say who says that because that's a spoiler, but I love this trilogy or series so much. It was great. Made me very happy to reread this, and I just really enjoyed it. Question 12. The most beautiful book you have bought or received. I'm not gonna take it down because it's all the way in like this case and it's gonna take too much work to pull down from my shelf, but surprisingly, the Caraval trilogy. I don't know which book is my most like aesthetically pleasing favorite book, but I will pick the one I decide in the end on the screen now. This whole, like all these covers are so pretty. The inside is pretty, the outside is pretty. I just am genuinely in love with the Caraval trilogy, in case you haven't guessed already. And lastly, question number 13. 13, there we go, is what books do you want to read by the end of the year? So like I already said, I do want to prioritize reading a whole bunch of V.E. Schwab books, so you can kind of see them over here. I want to read the Shades of Magic trilogy, the Vicious duology, and the Near Witch, as well as her new book coming out later on in October, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I want to read Twilight as well because the new book is coming out in the beginning of August, and while I have no real desire to read that book, I have yet to read the Twilight series, and I feel like I should, you know? It's a classic. I feel like I should. So last year I got the first book, and so I think I'm gonna read this for like the first time in 2020. So I'm gonna see if I enjoyed the story because I don't have the same like nostalgic emotional connection to this book as many other people do. So I'm gonna see if it's actually any good. Something else I want to finish by the end of the year is the Throne of Glass series. I own all of the books, and me and my friend Caitlin from Witches and Demigods on Instagram, we are buddy reading the entire series together. I'm pretty sure that's our plan anyways. We are currently on the 3rd book, Heir of Fire. We just started it today, and I really want to get to the end of the series by the end of this year because I feel like it's a classic so many people talk about, and I want to be included in that, you know? And lastly, I want to reread the Red Queen series, which you can see over here, because it has been a while since I've reread that series, and I've heard actually people don't really like it as much now. It's like my 2nd favorite series of all time, so I feel like I need to reread it and see how my opinions may have changed, or if I've just grown to love it even more. I just kind of want to see like all my thoughts. Also, I love that series so much, so I really just want to jump back into the world of Red Queen and fall in love all over again. Anyways, that is the entire mid-year book freakout tag. I really enjoyed answering these questions. I think so far this year I've read a lot of really good books, the Caraval trilogy, and also some other books that I didn't really like, but they're always fun to talk about, especially books that you really love and really hate. There's always so much to talk about for both of those. And overall, I hope you take something out of this video and also maybe read some of my favorites, maybe like the Caraval trilogy. But anywho, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below any answers to the questions if you want to answer them for yourself, or if you want to comment on any of the books I've read. Let's start some discussions. Anyways, I will see you all very soon in a new video. So until then, bye.